This week on MS Refresh, all the things that were due last month, according to the M365 roadmap. It's going to be a short episode this week, but I think we're going to have some hot takes nonetheless. All that and more. Stay tuned. Subscribe to stay in the know. This is the MS Refresh Show. Hello there. This is episode 55 for the work week of March 14th. Coming from the West Coast, live, as always, I'm Sean Bugler.
And from the East Coast, I'm Matt Wade.
Matt, how are you?
I'm doing just peachy. How about you?
You know, we were talking about it before we went live. I am not busy, but busy enough. It's the worst combination of like too many things happening all at once that it's made me feel overwhelmed despite not having an overwhelming workload. Does that make sense? You know, you've got all these side projects constantly. You must know what that feels like.
I do. I am busy, especially at work, and overwhelmingly busy.
Oh no! So you have the worst of both worlds.
Yes, correct. And I have a couple sessions that are coming up at like Teams Nation this month, and then the M365 conference next month. So I need to cut a little time of that extra time I've been given into the work, the full-time job, and take some of that back to do some of the side stuff that I owe some things on.
Yeah, no kidding. That's the curse of us getting back to some semblance of, I hesitate to say normal because it's not, right. But you know, some semblance of like what used to be with traveling and things to that effect. Now, is Teams Nation live this year?
Yeah, I believe so.
No kidding. I believe you're going.
Well, I'm not going. No, I'm not going to it. This is an online one. I'm pretty sure it's live.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. But to that end, I mean, we've also got the M365 collaboration conference in another month, right?
Yeah, they actually dropped the collaboration from the name. They are just the M365 conference now. They just really took control of that maybe not trademark, but that name in North America at least.
You can see them slowly expanding to take it all over. World domination.
That is the goal.
Well, that's exciting. Anything else new in your world?
Nah, not really.
No, feeling good. A friend of mine who knows we do the show was in a Barnes & Noble, I want to say it was, and they saw your book and sent me a picture of it. I'll have to send it to you.
You mean like this book right here?
That book. No, it was that one.
It was that one. This one right here that people should buy if they have the opportunity to do so?
Not the other book. That was the collection of short stories, was it? M365 themed short stories.
Yes, I believe it was Microsoft Aesop's Microsoft Fables for dummies.
You know, I have an idea, and we're going to come back to this after we stop filming here. But I think we've BS'd enough. How about some news?
I think I'm good with that. Yeah, let me just we'll get going.
This is the news.
You know, we always want to give product teams some breathing room to hit their targets on the M365 roadmap. We know that it can be hard to hit goals. We understand that. But as we approach the middle of the month, of the following month, it's time to take stock of everything that did or was supposed to arrive in February. That's last month, starting with Outlook. Outlook and Exchange should see the following updates. Custom colors are finally here for calendars in the web experience. Multiple time zones can be viewed along the left edge of the Outlook calendar, so you know what time it is in another location. That one just showed up in my tenant today. Reactions on iOS and Android and in Outlook for the web have arrived. Something interesting to note, I'm going to pause here for a second. Something interesting to note is that the reactions are actually listed on mobile versus web differently. There are different reactions available. We assume this is a mistake or that it's a steady rollout. But here are the reactions for mobile today. Thumbs up, laugh, love, celebrate, and sadness. The web experience references all of those, but it also has, surprisingly, surprise. Surprise is a is an option that is currently available on web, but is not available on mobile. So stay tuned on that one. Jumping over to GCC Moderate, find time should be available for you starting this month, which is exciting, or starting last month, we should say. And in a first of its kind influence of Microsoft Viva on Outlook, E5 users or users specifically licensed for Viva Insights will get delayed delivery, where Outlook will suggest times to send an email to a recipient based on their working hours and time zones. Now, is this going to set a precedent for more M365 app features that become dependent on Viva licensing? Ugh. Let's go ahead and jump over to Forms. Microsoft Forms should now support the following functions. The mobile experience for form creators should be the same as on desktop. 3 cheers for all our iPad users out there. The Teams poll app is now completely built on Microsoft Forms. No word on the continued coexistence of the Forms app in Teams, potentially continuing the confusion there. And Forms templates are now available for commercial users. That should be neat. Moving on to Teams here. Teams should now support the following features, including the ability to pin a chat message in a private chat, at least on desktop, walkie-talkie mode on Android phones, the ability to mute notifications during a meeting on desktop. We should note that you can already do this on mobile. And the new chat density, i.e. Slack mode, should be out. Fluent emoji are finally here, my personal favorite feature here. And tags are now available for GCC DoD users. Pivoting over to SharePoint, the Intelligent Intranet saw the following features roll out last month, starting with the library drop-down picker. This appears in the library and allows users to jump between libraries more efficiently. I should note, we've heard a lot of people concerned about the fact that this now surfaces libraries that they may not have wanted users to know about. Always fun stuff to think about there. The Microsoft Lists app finally makes its way to Android. We've also picked up the capability to use JSON formatting to customize the command bar in a Microsoft list. Fascinating. And the List app for iOS now has comment support. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and jump over to Potpourri. As always, we'd love to give equal airtime to all of our M365 friends, but not all updates are created equally. Here are all the services that didn't have enough news to warrant their own section, starting with Excel. Excel should now be seeing modern common features, including the ability to @mention to assign tasks and hyperlinks. Oh, where'd I go? There we go. OneDrive picked up a native sync client support for Apple Silicon and a new Activity Center web experience spruced up with the new Fluent design-inspired look and feel. The revamped Windows Whiteboard app, a source of much industry excitement and, dare we say, drama, late last year is currently rolling out. The previously reported modern font picker is rolling out to Microsoft Word, making Word the first of the Office apps to support pinning favorite fonts, displaying all fonts used in a document, and selecting different forms of a font directly from the list, things like semi-bold, heavy, condensed, and so on. Guest users in Project for the Web were due last month, but that roadmap item was rolled into an overall guest user experience for Project as a whole, and is now set for April. And lastly, for all you admins out there, a new Microsoft 365 category will be used in the Admin Center when a wide impact issue is affecting multiple Microsoft 365 apps and services.
That was the news.
Yes, that was the news.
Nicely done, Sean.
Thank you very much.
I have a couple of things that I'd like to talk about. I was hoping we could get into 45, 60, 90-minute deep dive into the OneDrive sync client, Apple Silicon support, and then we can talk a little bit more about emoji. I know specifically my buddy Phil Worrell in Switzerland loves those topics, so I wanted to see if we could spend some time on that.
Phil is going to love that we have a running list of the things that he's noticed appear in every episode. Speaking of which, hi, Phil. I think there were some interesting things that popped up there. Obviously, it was kind of a quiet, consistent rollout, but there were some interesting things. It's nice to see it is actually nice to see M1 support for the OneDrive sync client, given that, that's a lot of processing power we could be using.
That's true.
Was there anything that jumped out to you, small stuff, anything that was exciting?
So I'm no developer, and we talked a little bit about list formatting last week. I noticed that you say JSON. Isn't that wrong?
The name eludes me right now, but somebody had some strong opinions about
Was his name Jason?
somebody had some strong opinions about us describing you as doing coding last week.
I don't blame them because
I don't blame them either.
I admit it. It's not coding, but whatever. I think it's coding. It's coding to me, anyway.
But to that end, I've heard JSON, I've heard Jason. I tend to fluctuate between the two in the same way that I say pecan and pecan.
You could not have picked a better word in the English language to make a simile for. That's awful, because it's literally the only word in American English that can't pick a side. Any other word you said would have been like, oh, no. Obviously that's wrong or that's right. But no. You have to pick the one word. Brum.
Yeah. It's but it's context specific. It's yes. Pecans.
Here's a second word: Caribbean and Caribbean.
Well, but the
context matters.
The context matters. Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. But no, I've always called it Jason as a broad one, and then someone I think corrected me once, and I've tried to jump back to JSON, but I didn't actually know this until I was reading the news that you collated here. I didn't realize that they were taking the Salesforce route of letting you customize the command bar. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm also not sure what that implies overall, because there was no reference to document libraries and what is a document library, but a specific use case for a Microsoft list or a SharePoint list formerly. So yeah, I'm not sure what the impact is going to be there. I don't think that you can format document libraries the same way you can with lists. I could definitely see the use case for it. I just don't know. I just don't believe that's supported. So I'm kind of curious to see if that's going to have an impact elsewhere.
I always hesitate to invest too much time in the custom formatting. I know there's a ton of cool stuff you can do with it, but one of the big things that holds me back from this is that the mobile component. There's nothing that you're doing there on the desktop. Like, you can make this brilliant, really in-depth, intricate custom formatted design for the desktop. For the minute you jump onto, an iPad with the mobile browser, or if you open up the lists mobile app, all that goes out the window. And that inconsistent experience is difficult for me to square with, because, especially in my current role, I've always been very fervently for, one, out of the box experiences, but two, consistent mobile first experiences. And it's just really hard to walk that walk and still tap into some of that functionality.
And lists in general isn't really meant for a mobile experience. I mean, I guess you could say for a tablet, because you can have a wide, view of a tablet. But if, a list is just, it gets progressively wider, right? Based on the number of columns that you put in. So you're just going to be continuously doing this to look at the list on mobile. I don't think there's a good solution to that, which is probably why the formatting support isn't there, because
it's just not supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's good for checking in kind of thing, maybe updating something. But if you really want that experience, use a Power App instead and dump the data where it needs to go, right? Or present it as a dashboard for a look on a small screen. I think that's sort of the intention there.
I couldn't agree more. What else? What else jumped out at you?
So I think the only one that really kind of stuck out was, I don't know how if this is new and I missed it before, or because I have an underlying distaste and hatred for Outlook and Exchange, I just ignore those items. But the whole Viva having an impact on features in Outlook and Exchange is kind of scary to me, because frankly, I kind of do this with Viva. It doesn't really exist to me, because it's just a rebundling of existing apps, and otherwise
until they do this.
It has, exactly. So the whole, you have to have an E5 or you have to have a Viva Insights license, which is essentially the former My Analytics, which is rebranded to Viva Insights, and that costs an extra amount. So you can have an E1 and have an Insights license on top of it. But this thing it's not a groundbreaking feature. It's basically the email will tell you, or Outlook will tell you, hey, don't send this email until this person's work hours start. Now they specifically called out time zones. So like
Right.
maybe somebody in the US is emailing somebody in Europe, hey, you know, they're out of office right now, right? Their hours are 8 to 5 or say 9 to 3. And I wish we could have that here in the US.
Must be nice.
Agreed. I want those siestas. But you know, they're out of office now, and you should either delay this and use it as a delayed feature, or wait to send it until they're going to be in the office. Now, again, not a groundbreaking feature. Helpful, sure, but not worthy of an Insights license. But then again, you're not buying Insights for Outlook features theoretically. So I'm kind of curious to see where this brings us. I think this is a dangerous precedent, and I hate slippery slope arguments, but this seems like a very slippery slope for the future, because if I don't know, SharePoint syntax at $5 per user per month is required to, or you know, Viva Topics is going to be a requirement for certain things in SharePoint, or I don't know, Viva Connections gets its own license type and ends up requiring certain things to get things in Teams or SharePoint.
Don't give them ideas.
I'm going to be an unhappy camper.
Yeah, you know, it's a catch-22, because I think we probably uniquely us, maybe not uniquely, but definitely us. When Viva came out, we were like, this is all stuff that exists. Why would you brand it? And now they're going, great, we'll pile features into it that make it a distinct offering. And we're like, wait, no, don't do that.
We'll show you, is what they said.
Yeah, I saw that. It's funny you mentioned that, because I was just kind of poking around in the one screen that Viva Insights offers before you end up in my analytics, and I saw that option, and I thought I saw it, and I thought, well, that's kind of neat. Now we're, you know, my agency is an example. Like, we're not just all West Coast, but we're all specifically the San Francisco Bay Area. So that doesn't necessarily do a ton, although some of us have like offset hours, for example, so that maybe that could be useful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you in the sense that this is like a quality of life upgrade. You know, the scheduled send feature already exists. This is the Microsoft Editor upgrade of that feature, essentially. Like, this is the suggested replies version of that, and that doesn't feel like it merits being paywalled. So
yeah, imagine a Microsoft Editor. That's a good example. If that was part of Viva Insights, and like it was insights into the way that you write, right? Like that required an additional license. Like those types of pretty valuable services are Designer, right? Like PowerPoint Designer, Word Designer. Like, imagine if those things are put behind a paywall. I like, at this
Please
point,
don't do that. If somebody is watching this, don't take away Designer, don't take away Editor.
Yeah, at this point though, like that's already out of the tube, right? That insert can't go backwards cliche here, but you know, like what else is now going to potentially get put behind that? Like, hell, they're better off putting the scheduler, the Outlook Cortana-based scheduler tool inside of that instead of
why didn't they do that?
That $10 per user per month. That would show some actual value potentially.
Yeah.
You know?
Hire a person, pay $10 a month for Cortana
per user. Per user. It's insanity. Absolute insanity.
I'm hopeful this isn't an indicator. I would like to see them give us more of those quality of life experiences, upgrades up front. I don't fault Microsoft for trying to find new revenue streams. I just don't know. I feel I would like to see them do that with new experiences, not enhanced experiences.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Anything in the list that stood out to you?
You know, I think that was the big one. I think the one last thing I'll call out before we jump over to questions here is the modern font picker that we called out there, that Microsoft Word. And we've talked about this a couple of times on the episode in the news, but that Word is getting its own kind of redesign of the font picker, where you're not just going to, I don't know, have you ever used Canva, the like web-based design tool?
Like very little bit, but I like this sounds very much like the Photoshop and Adobe Creative Suite font picker, which would be a welcome change where I can actually see semi-bold italic and, you know, condensed, you know, bold italic. That would be a welcome improvement.
I wonder, do you think it's going to be like a flyout kind of thing? Like you hover over and then it's going to be,
you know what? I hope so, because the one thing I don't like about Photoshop is, especially if you're downloading free fonts from the internet, sometimes it'll have them like listed individually in the font picker, and that's not a fun experience. But like the smarter ones or the more like formal ones will have a flyout, and they really should, because if they're not different fonts, it's just a variation on a font, right? So
the flyout's not very mobile friendly.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. So, work around that, I guess. I don't know. Like, I'll go see what Photoshop does on the iPhone. And again, don't reinvent the wheel. It works, right? Like, just,
Yeah. Well, what I was going to mention about Canva, what I like about them is it'll show you what fonts are in active use within a design, which is really, cool. Really helpful. As opposed to like having to scroll through or select the item and go, what font was I using? It just shows you up at the very top, not just what Microsoft currently does with theme fonts, but it'll show you the ones that are actively used. And I like the idea of not just that, but potentially going as far as having like, through group policy or otherwise, or even just a setting in the admin center, setting like the company authorized brand font or whatever that's going to be. So it'd be nice to see what that's going to look like.
I assume this is the first step in rolling this out for all of the Office apps. There really is no reason that the font picker isn't a basically, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a plugin, but something that you just call and display in Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, OneNote, whatever else.
I hope Access gets it next.
Oh my God. Anyway, let's take some questions.
Starting with.
I was gonna, I didn't want to start World War III, dude, or at least continue or extend upon. So, how do you say it?
I am 99% sure it's Azure.
Yeah. So I think formally or officially, this word is an English word before it was a trademark. The American English pronunciation of this is Azure, not I'm trying to remember how else some Americans will say it, but the British pronunciation is Azure, not Azure, but Azure.
Which I think Z?
Well, as if like that's how it's spelled. Yes.
Well, they're wrong.
Heaven forbid. That being said, I've heard it probably half a dozen different ways based on the different accents in English that I'm exposed to. I mean, notably, the CEO of Microsoft is an Indian American, right? He comes with a bit of an accent. So the way he says it is different from the way the Brits say it, which is different from the way the Americans, or at least the native speaking English.
Satya says Azure, right?
Maybe it's definitely not exactly how the Brits say it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I'm gonna have to go look this up afterwards. We're coming back to the next episode with a clip of all the different Microsoft presenters pronouncing Azure. Anyway, be a super cut from Ignite.
But what does kill me is when I hear Microsoft people mispronounce it outside of the accepted pronunciations for American English or British English, and it's just like,
of all the different options that they've got.
Yeah.
It's the one area where Microsoft marketing hasn't been able to exert influence. It has been just how you pronounce it.
Yes, right, exactly. So that's my take on that one.
Here's another question here from Rich. When the new Outlook comes out, I presume he's talking about Project Monarch. Will it be the default calendar used in Teams? My desktop Outlook is able to connect to iCalendar and Google Calendar, where the Teams calendar is not.
Yeah, so these are definitely not connected. No. The Teams calendar experience is a Teams experience, not an Outlook experience. So you'll continue to be able, I'm sure. I haven't actually gotten into. I think behind the scenes it was. I hadn't heard Project Monarch, but I've heard Outlook One.
Yeah, same deal.
Yeah. And that, oh boy, that UI change is going to, the world is going to go on fire with all of the people who have used Outlook Desktop for 30 years now and are going to be very displeased with the UI changes, because it's going to look a lot more like the web app. But
the carpet is stained because the cheese has been in one place for so long. It's time to move it.
Yes, agreed. So that's going to be dependent upon the Teams team. I'm actually not sure if there is a calendar item in the roadmap. Probably not. I don't think the Teams team sees that as a priority, because Outlook already has the feature set, and I don't know if they see that calendar and Teams as being the primary exposure of calendars in Microsoft 365.
That's a
honestly, yeah, agreed.
And maybe that'll change. I think that for the longest time we saw people cards being kind of this disparate experience across. And so maybe we may one day see kind of a cohesive realignment around like what the Microsoft calendar experience is supposed to be. But I think until we get to that point, it continues to be a feature of convenience more than it is representative of the core calendaring experience.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I do not see anything in the roadmap for Teams and the word calendar that would align with this. So it's probably in there, whatever the new version of user voice is. I forget what it's called now, customer experience, something like that.
It's
I honestly can't remember.
Nobody's honestly, I don't know if this is indicative of just people are less angry in general as of late because we're all so tired, or if genuinely, I would love to see what the traffic is for this new customer experience way of the product engagement teams versus user voice, because user voice felt like something I heard constantly. I constantly was seeing like, go, vote this up in user voice, or, here's this item in user voice that they've updated. I don't think I've heard customer experience anything in the last few months. Have you?
I have not. Paid for to have access to. So even using that term, they were using a trademark or a name of a non-Microsoft service. So like, why promote that? What's funny is I was working in Power Automate the other day, and it still will say, have an idea or see how this can be improved. Drop a comment in the in user voice. But of course, Power Automate never had user voice. It just goes to the Power Platform,
to the community.
To the community, yeah. So it's kind of funny the term user voice is being used as a synonym for feature requests and upvoting, even if it wasn't going to user voice itself.
The Kleenex effect.
A little bit, yeah. Generalization there, yeah.
One last question here from Brian. Have you seen an ETA for the Loop app or the Unified Outlook or OneNote apps? I haven't, but I have my guesses. Matt, you?
Yeah, I haven't either. I'm going to guess that Loop is probably going to get a major hype at Microsoft Build, which will be, I assume, typical time at the June, July timeframe. I don't know about Outlook, or actually, I'm not. What's the OneNote reference? Are they taking the Windows version and squeezing it back into the?
That's my understanding.
M365 version.
They're getting rid of they're sunsetting the unit or I forgot what they call it.
No,
whatever the like Windows modern app thing was, that was this like lightweight version of OneNote that's being retired in lieu of kind of what we consider to be the true OneNote app.
And boy, has that caused problems. The fact that a OneNote file is no longer a file, but like a pointer, a URL pointer and you can't open it from File Explorer because you can't actually sync it. It's just a point. Oh, it's just.
Yeah, that was a mess.
It still is.
That caused a lot of controversy within my agency, which, like we all know, and I'm sure we'll hear it in the comments. OneNote users are the most fervent, vocal, committed user base I have ever seen.
And somehow, based on the fact that OneNote was the first app to really get anything like similar to co-authoring, like the simultaneous editing, they never backtracked and actually gave it real co-authoring. So I actually see issues where people are editing OneNote files at the same time and they're not seeing the updates from other people because it's depending upon this outdated, I'll say outdated, but older model of updating things. It's at least outdated from my perspective because compared to Word, it doesn't work nearly as well. And it's like, why? Like,
well, you got to think that they must have lost a ton of engineering time dedicating a bunch of engineering towards building the kind of the Windows version of it, then stopping that, then trying to backfill some of the stuff into the Windows version of the app. Like they must have lost like a year and a half, 2 years worth of work with all of that. It would be nice to see them slap a fresh coat of paint on there and put some of those more modern experiences in there. And who knows, maybe they will.
But not just a fresh coat of paint, like throw paint over, like on any good landlord bashing TikTok, you'll see them paint over the I don't know, the light switches and the electrical outlets. Like, no, we need the new ones. Put the new ones in. Take off
Put the new ones.
Yeah, like fix the thing. Don't just paint over it. It's
Kelly and I are apartment hunting again, so that's close to home. We see a lot of that where it's like, oh, I can't close this door. That seems like it's going to be a problem.
My biggest lesson learned these days is to check the cell service and like make a FaceTime call with a few people. Like, make sure you're really pushing it to the max to make sure that you actually have good service there.
That's close to what I do, which is check to see what the water pressure is.
Oh, I like that. I've never really considered that.
There's nothing. There's nothing more sad to me than like a weak shower.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. I learned something good in this call.
It's good to see you too, Matt.
Yes. No. Right. I do want to acknowledge here the fact that Azure is in fact a Latin sourced word. In fact, in Spanish, blue is azul, so coming from the same root word. But I don't think that pronunciation. Well, I don't know what it is in Italian, honestly. But I don't think it matters because we English speakers steal words all the time, and we make our own pronunciation of it. Just look at all the Norman French that has worked into the English, and we have bastardized it to its fullest extent. So, but that is a good background. Yes, that is a good background on where the word comes from.
All right. Well, I think that's all I've got. Anything from you, Matt?
No, I think that about does it. So thanks so much, everybody, for watching. As always, a like and subscribe is much appreciated. Leave a comment below to start the discussion. Sean, thank you so much for joining me this week. Can't wait to hang out with you and everybody else again. I don't know. How's next week sound?
I'll think about it.
All right. We'll see if we wake up for it.